Okay, great. We have about 56 people on the line, so welcome everybody. Still have some folks I'm sure will join us partway through here, but I just wanted to welcome you all. My name is Andrew Mishalove. I am the head of community and user groups for Boomi. I work under the Boomiverse team, so Matt Krebsbach, senior manager of Boomiverse, is on the line. Matt, you can say hello to everybody. This is our second edition of the Virtual Connect events for Texas and the area. So welcome back for those of you who joined us the first time. We had a great event, and so great that we were asked to do another one a couple months after. So I want to welcome everybody back to this second one. As you can imagine, we've pivoted pretty quickly from predominantly in-person events. I'd say about 90 to 95% of our events were in person. But we've quickly made that transition to the virtual environment to account for the current COVID environment. But we want to continue to make sure that we're bringing value to you all through these Boomiverse Connect opportunities. Chance for you to connect with your peers that are in the local region. Get a chance for you to hear from existing customers who are doing some cool and very interesting things with Boomi. So you'll hear from some of those folks this afternoon, and just really hopefully take advantage of the opportunity that we have today to connect and to share. There will be an exercise for those of you who are familiar with the format. We do switch it up a bit, but for some of the staples of the activities planned for today do include the virtual brain toss. So hopefully, if you didn't get a chance to go last time, you will get a chance to share your story this time. So be on the lookout for that, but just really take advantage of today and just super happy to see so many people who've decided to join us and take a couple hours out of their day to be with us today. So before we get started, and I'll get into the agenda in just a second here, the session is being recorded. Did press record? Yes, I did. So the session is being recorded. The purpose for the recording is so that we can share today's session with the rest of the community members who perhaps won't have a chance to stick around for the entire event, or for those who did sign up but they weren't able to make it for whatever reason, or if you do stick around for the entire event and you heard something really cool you want to refer back to, that recording will be made available through the community. So I'm promising a 3-day turnaround. I know it took us a bit more time on the last one, but we've kind of got it nailed down at this stage. So that should be online early next week. So be on the lookout for that. If you're not completely comfortable with the recording, 2 suggestions. One would be to keep your camera turned off. Suggestion number 2 would be to, if you do have questions and you're not comfortable having us record you, you're welcome to use the chat feature of Zoom. And we will be sure to keep our eyes on the chat and get your questions addressed as soon as we can. Second one, big and bold, please engage. These are not webinars. You're not here to listen to us and to others lecture. This is about you all. This is about opportunities to connect and share best practices and get tips and tricks from your peers who are doing similar things with Boomi. Perhaps they're doing other and interesting things that may provide you with some incentive to continue to build out your Boomi program. So use the chance today, use the opportunity to connect with your peers and to connect with us and engage and participate in the activity. Would love for everybody to turn their cameras on. I see at page 1 on my screen, looks like we have about 90% of the cameras turned on. Then it gets pretty dark as I continue to scroll. You know, in the age of COVID, I make it a priority to keep my camera turned on for every meeting. I just want to be able to chance to kind of see the faces and hear the voices. And when we do return to the in-person environment, then hopefully we'll have some good facial recognition skills and have made some friends, some future friends that we can continue to develop those relationships in person. So don't be shy. We'd love to see your faces, and please do turn your cameras on. Makes this more of an interactive event. Mics are muted by default, but you do have the ability to unmute at any point. So if you have a question from our speakers or just want to make a point at any point during today's session, just unmute yourself, find a good gap in the action, and ask away. But I do ask that you'll you'll mute your mic afterwards just to keep the background noise down if you have kids in the background or dogs or anything like that. So definitely, again, encourage everyone to use that feature. There will be 2 polls today. One I'll kick off here shortly. The second one will be at the end of the session. Those polls give us an opportunity to collect feedback from you all so that we can continue to improve this experience for you. We take all the polls seriously. We've incorporated changes from the polls, from the feedback that we collect. Feedback is a gift. We have incorporated all of that feedback, or some of the feedback, so I wouldn't say all of it. We've definitely collected a lot of feedback, and we've been able to incorporate some of those changes into how we run these events. So please, please, please take the polls. There'll be, again, one coming up shortly, and the other one will be at the end of the session. We do have a couple of Texas user groups on the community. So if you've not yet joined those, please go to community.boomi.com. Go up to the navigation bar, search for user groups. Caitlin, if maybe you could post the links into the chat, that would be super helpful. So take a look at the chat. Caitlin will post a couple of the links. There are 2, I believe. There's one for Dallas area, one for Houston for now. So feel free to join one of those. If you have ideas about us forming other additional user groups, you're welcome to make those recommendations, and we can get those spun up too. But please take a minute to join those groups. And we'll use those groups really to stay connected between these events, between Boomi World, an opportunity to ideate and talk about future events, talk about speakers, topics you want to hear about. But that's a great way to stay connected with your local peers. Last but not least, have some fun. I know that the daily routine of waking up and making breakfast and then sitting in your living room or your kitchen and going to work and being at work all day is becoming very, very routine and is getting old. I'm sure a lot of us are anxious to get back on the road. Myself, I probably traveled about 40 weeks out of the year last year and haven't traveled since February, so it's getting tough. So let's use this as a chance to connect and share and have some fun. So just if we can do all those things and get some good information out of the session today, then it's a big win. So have some fun, stay connected, get engaged, turn your mics on, turn your cameras on, and let's keep on going. All right, so the agenda really quickly, and then we'll get on with the meat of today with our topics. So this is the hello and welcome portion. We will, again, kind of kick off that the brain toss shortly, but before that, we have Chris Port, the Boomi COO, is on the line with us today. He's here to welcome you all, so Chris will take it away in just a moment here. Chris, you want to wave so people can see your smiling face? Awesome. We're very thankful to have Chris on the call, so I'm sure you'll love to hear what Chris has to say. We'll hear from Chris in just a moment. Then we have Jonathan Hart from Freeport. Jonathan, I don't know if you're on screen 1 or not, but Jonathan is going to be joining us with just 1 working year today, and a lot of noisy kids in the background. So hopefully that's down to a minimum today. But Jonathan, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to hearing from you, and as well as Scott Huggins from Baylor. Then Sean Keenan. Sean, you're on the upper left on my screen. Will be joining us towards the end. Sean recently joined the Boomi team as one of the co-founders of DCP, formerly Unify. So we'll get a chance to hear from Sean. We have a cool activity planned during Sean's session. And then we'll move into the final event for today. And that's really just to get some live feedback from you all and get that last poll going. So with that, I want to introduce Chris Port. Chris, take it away, introduce yourself, and I'll let you steer, and I'll navigate in the background.
Sounds great. Well, Andrew, thank you so much. I don't know that this will be the best 10 minutes of the event, but again, first off, I just want to say a huge thank you. Thank you to everyone on this call for first and foremost, just being a great partner, for being an active community member. I mean, this is your community. This is like, so I'm 4.5 years into my run now here at Boomi, and it's honestly been one of the focus areas since I got here day one. I mean, I think we've always felt like it's a great opportunity to just really engage and candidly for us to get better, and way more importantly for everyone here to just have a much better Boomi experience, collaborate with each other, get to know each other, because ultimately it's your community. And we've tried to open it up and grow it, and but again, I just a huge thank you. I'm really interested today just to kind of hear all the feedback, and kind of listen in. So once I'm done, I'll just kind of, go on mute and sit off to the side. But again, because I know this is an interesting time, and a lot of people probably are like myself. It's back to school time, and which can be a good thing, can be a bad thing. But again, thank you. So, again, and I think Andrew's call to action just in terms of engagement is exactly, what I love about our community, which is engaging each other, engaging us. It's your access to, Boomi experts, but as importantly to each other, and your collaboration and what we've seen, just to kind of give some perspectives when I think about like, the knowledge articles that are available now, and we're literally knocking on the door of 2,000. And when you think about that, that's 50% growth year over year plus. So, a huge thank you there. The number of certifications, when you talk about the LMS and everything that we're doing there, and just the number of classes that are available and modules, the number of certifications are up more than 60% year over year. And overall members, we've got now 80,000 plus people, at any given time that are participating in the community. So, huge opportunity for all of us just to learn from each other and continue to get better. I'll tell you this, we had a really good, first half. We're all learning our way through, this incredibly weird time. Both I think, whether you're managing people or just how it affects you personally. So, I'm excited about, something I would tell you, the beauty about Boomi is we're a platform now. We've developed, every time we see an opportunity to improve ourselves, some entrepreneurial person at Boomi kind of jumps in and starts developing things, a lot of times in flow, to kind of help make Boomi better. And we've like opened up a lot of those out there for people to leverage as you and your companies kind of get back to work, whether that be, in a physical office or even virtual, as you try to get better. So, I would tell you, go take a peek at thrive.boomi.com. And if there's anything there that you can use, like, please let someone know. But, again, just, we're our attempts just to make sure we're, kind of getting better throughout this kind of pandemic and this time, and, trying to open up as much of that as we can to the community and to all of our customers. So excited about that. And again, the last thing I'll leave you with is you'll continue to see us make investments here. Whether it's leaning into the Boomiverse, and, I'm incredibly excited about some of the cool stuff we're about to launch from a gamification perspective. Hopefully you're seeing some of the early returns on some of the, enhanced search capabilities that we've created across all of Boomi, not just within the Boomiverse, but that's where it manifests itself for you guys. But we're continuing to really lean into this, and, with Andrew and Matt and everybody else that's kind of in there, kind of helping shepherd the community experience. I think there's an inordinate amount of opportunity, and ultimately, we're all in the community together. So again, a huge thank you. I'm really interested just to kind of see how, what everybody's doing and how things are progressing, and get your feedback on everything you're going to see today. So again, I appreciate the opportunity, and looking forward to the next, hour and 45 minutes.
Chris, did you want to take a second? I had 2 additional slides. I wasn't sure if you wanted to talk a little bit about the Thrive experience that
Sure.
we have going next week. And then if you could touch a little bit on the campaign that we have coming up as well.
Yeah.
I think I had them in the reverse order here.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. So obviously, we're not doing a physical Boomi World this year. I'll be candid, like me personally, I think within the last 3-4 weeks is when it's really started to hit me. Like, man, I would really, really, really like to get out there and start seeing everyone again and being with everyone. And, and it's going to be a while. So it is what it is. We're all in that boat together. And this would be a time where we really typically be really ramping up our preparation for our Boomi World, which it was typically in that, kind of October, November timeframe. And obviously we're not doing a physical event this year. We're not even calling it Boomi World. We're going to do more of I'll call it a rolling thunder, events, around this out of this world theme. I'm really excited. So go take a peek. I love the tagline. It's not in San Francisco. It's not in any country. It's basically everywhere. And, obviously we are expecting the participation to be significantly larger in terms of numbers. We're still working on some some guest appearances that will hopefully entice some people. But more importantly, it's just a great opportunity to learn, about a lot of the different things we're doing, a lot of things that our partners doing and customers are doing. And, so trying to create as much of that experience that we provide at Boomi World, but in kind of a more, bite-sized way, over the course of multiple weeks versus, 1 or 2 or 3 days. So really excited about that. So please go take a peek. It's all free. There's the link. And I'm sure Andrew can provide that, and it's probably already out in the community right now. But would love to see everyone on that. Because again, a lot of really great things happening around Boomi. I think one thing that candidly I'm proud of the company is once we kind of got, I'll call it our COVID legs under us. And basically just like everybody was like, okay, how do we, first and foremost, how do we make sure everyone's healthy and safe, and all the offices are closed down, and candidly it was seamless. We're incredibly fortunate that we're a company that can 100% work remote with effectively 0 hiccups. And so once we got through that and we kind of figured out, okay, what does the rest of the year look like? We've really leaned into a lot of things to say, let's not only make it through this period, how can we be a step function better company on the back end of this? So, and I think you're going to see a lot of that at Boomi World, or sorry, at the Out of This World events. And, candidly, there's more things happening at Boomi, in my opinion, than there's ever been. There's so much energy towards being better. And it's kind of been one of those, maybe unexpected benefits of this weird time. So check it out. Really excited. And Andrew, if you want to go to the next slide. And one of the things that's like specifically that you'll see, and in the first event, is August 25th. So, coming up next week, and that's around Work Reimagined. So again, the easiest way to get out there and just peek at that is, it's called thrive.boomi.com. And right when you hit that, you'll see the Work Reimagined, landing page and all of the different solutions that are out there. I think there's 9-ish solutions that are out there that are very specific to look, how do we, whether it's returning to site, whether it's, health tracking of team members, but things that are very specific, in my opinion, to this period of time for the most part. But then there's also things that I think are like, how can we be better today and tomorrow? How can we help improve our own companies today and tomorrow? And you'll see this continue to expand, but incredibly excited. We're kind of branding the whole thing Work Reimagined, and really excited about it. So again, go take a peek. There's a link there in terms of getting ready for the event. But if you just, real time want to go take a peek at what it is, it's thrive.boomi.com. And that'll take you right to the Work Reimagined landing page. So again, really excited. This will be one of the centerpieces for the first Out of This World event, which is next week, the 25th. So please go register, attend if you can, and would love to get feedback.
Awesome, Chris, thank you so much for that and for taking us through that, and just talking about ways in which we're continuing to create opportunity for people to stay connected. I always found, and I love Boomi World, it's my, the one event throughout the year that I really look forward to. I get a chance to reconnect with a lot of our colleagues and peers around the world, but also all of our great customers and partners that get to join that event. And it's like a homecoming. It is a once a year event. It's 2 or 3 days, and just the excitement and the energy that's at that event, everyone comes away from that feeling so jazzed to go out and put into practice all the great things that they learned. But the typical habit, a month out, 2 months out, you kind of go back to business as usual. But I feel like opportunities like this, we stay connected all year long, and we keep that energy level high throughout the year, and we continue to make advancements in whatever it is that we're doing, not because of a single event, but because of multiple touch points throughout the year. So I think it's great opportunity for us to make some changes in the way we're doing things for now that are going to have a broader impact in the way we do things going forward. So
totally agree.
I love that.
And again, I think Andrew just nailed it. I would tell you that Boomi World is definitely, it's my number one event every year, because we get to see so many customers and hear so many awesome stories, and candidly learn though. We also, we get a lot of really good, constructive feedback, and it all happens in kind of a 1 week period. So But the best part is just seeing everyone. And yeah, hey, it is what it is, and we'll be back, sooner than we all hope, I think. But again, I think this is a great way to kind of reinvent what that was, in a much more kind of rolling thunder way. So really excited about, kind of starting next week, and then you'll kind of see them come behind that one after the other. So really excited about kind of this reinvention of what was Boomi World, at least for this year.
And Chris, you for those of you who joined Boomi World last year, you introduced B, our mascot at that event, and here you got a chance to introduce another out of space theme to this audience.
There you go, man.
So I think you must have been perhaps an astronaut in a previous life, or maybe in a future life.
I don't know about that, but yeah, all good.
So, all right, great. Well, I appreciate that. Matt, thanks for putting all the links into the chat. We will be sharing this content again on the community. So if you didn't get a chance to check out the chat and get the links there, you will see them on the community within the next couple of days. So you'll have all the information you need there as well. All right, so the brain toss. This activity is a lot of fun in person because we start off, I actually have a piece of foam. It's a brain that I toss around the room, and whoever catches it, they have to take 2 minutes and sum up their Boomi story in just a couple of minutes. And then that person throws it to the next person, and then around the room we go. It's a little different in a virtual environment where we ask people to volunteer to participate, to kick this off. We'll probably get through about 5 or 6 people, hopefully, and then we'll get a chance to move on to the, with the rest of the agenda. But this is your chance to get to know your peers, whether it's to introduce yourselves to your peers. Hopefully you hear some stories from some other folks that volunteer that resonate with you, and then you can take an opportunity to connect with that person through the community or offline in any other way. You can use the chat to have one-on-one conversations with them, or start up a discussion thread in the community. But highly, highly encourage you to participate in this. If we don't get volunteers, I'm going to ask my team to help pick on some folks. I already have a few people in mind that I could pick on. So usually it takes a little few seconds here to get that first volunteer, but once that first person goes, then we end up having to kind of cut the activity short so we don't end up running over on the event. Want to be respectful of your time. So can I get a first volunteer who wants to jump in, go through the questions, take about a minute to 2 minutes or so, and then we'll pass the baton off to the next person. So who do we got?
Sure, I'll step up.
All right.
All right. My name's Eric Fennell. I actually work for Boomi. I'm the platform architect. So I'm basically here to listen and get some feedback. That said, why did I purchase Boomi? I actually was a customer years ago when we purchased Boomi because we were looking for an EDI integration solution. Used it for about 7 years, and then I ended up joining the company. So the challenges that Boomi helped me resolve at that time, and why Boomi was unique, I was working for a warehouse management company, and the standard orders and receipts and shipments and things like that, and requests like, we'd like to know which of these orders are rush orders, and the ability to take the EDI data and split it off to a separate path and get us and generate an email to the warehouse containing just the orders that were marked as like rush orders each morning. We did that in about 5 minutes with Boomi, and the ability to add that kind of business value in such a quick time in an unexpected way really made me look at Boomi as more than the EDI translator that we had bought it for. So it's helped me solve a number of exciting challenges since then, and it has, in my role as a developer here at Boomi, it has produced a number of challenges that I've had to resolve since then, and it keeps me excited about working here and continuing to improve the product. I've been sort of peripheral on the user community. I often go to the community to look for advice and opinions about different initiatives that we're looking to build. Some of those things get a lot of votes, and there's a lot of really good feedback about use cases for how we should approach solving certain problems, looking for, trying to find that balance between simplifying the experience for people, but giving people a much deeper and more configurable and more detailed experience if they want it is another thing that excites me about the challenge and developing here at Boomi. And the community is a really good source for understanding both ends of that spectrum. The Boomi journey is taking us all to a lot of places that we did and didn't anticipate, and I think growing into new verticals and growing into new capabilities. I think challenging the assumption that when we started the company, the sort of given was that you knew you wanted to integrate A to B, and moving into a world in which Boomi is helping you understand that you have A, B, and C to begin with is really an interesting new uh, uh, perspective on what's going on in the data space. So that's sort of where the Boomi journey is taking me next. Favorite car? I'm not so much of a car guy, but if I had to pick one, I'm gonna say the Lotus Super 7 from the Prisoner series, but I hear it overheats in traffic.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, Eric, for sharing with us. I appreciate that. So Alan Smith, you've been nominated by 2 different people now as the guy who's a friendly guy who's got a lot to share with us. So can we count on you to be next now that you've been called out by several folks here on the Boomi team? You're on mute, Alan. I can
Yeah, okay, sorry.
There we go.
Yeah, no, that's no problem. So yeah, Alan Smith, I work for a company based out of New Orleans. It's called Latrim. The company does manufacturing of conveyor belt systems for companies such as Amazon, Walmart, just any type of conveyor belt or logistical packaging systems. We've been quite busy through the whole COVID experience due to the fact that we supply a lot to Amazon and Walmart, and they've been pretty busy, as everybody probably knows. I joined the company about a little over a year ago. Prior to joining this company, I worked for several companies, about 14 years in the IT space, but the last 6 years I was doing integrations for a company based out of Plano, Texas. It was a partner or consulting company. We did integrations for all sorts of people. When I joined Latrim last year, the reason that they wanted me to come in and work for them was that I had experience both with integrations, but also with Salesforce. They had recently purchased Salesforce. One of the first things that I had to do was bring in a integration platform as a service. We looked at several of Boomi's competitors, and but I had a really good experience with Boomi on my last engagement prior to joining Latrim, and I made a decision to go with Boomi. Okay, so since then we have rolled Boomi out into our organization. We have completed the project to integrate with several systems to facilitate the introduction of Salesforce. And it's been a good experience. We have no issues with the integration between the systems that we're integrating to Salesforce. Runs pretty smooth. We're also looking at other opportunities to integrate other things since then. In terms of how I use the Boomi user community, it's been vital in terms of doing research, looking at other people's comments in terms of how they solve for problems, if they've encountered a problem that we're encountering. So we use it as a way to do research to kind of deliver on the requirements from an integration standpoint. So it's very helpful there. Where is your Boomi journey taking you next? So once the Salesforce project was completed, we moved into other avenues. We currently have a custom developed customer experience portal that we're doing. So we're leveraging Boomi's API management to allow the customer experience portal that we're developing in AWS to pull data from systems such as Oracle EBS, Salesforce, Microsoft Dynamics, and a slew of others. So we're using API management to facilitate the customer experience portal's ability to retrieve information in real time or near real time for customers to get information on purchase orders, sales orders, invoices, assets they purchase from us, manuals, you name it. So that reduces the amount of phone calls that our customer service teams have into field when people, or customers in this case, can easily log into a customer experience portal and retrieve the information they want to based on their profile. And then we also are enabling Boomi to do other projects going forward. A lot more API management. The dream or the goal right now that we're kind of targeting is to really leverage API management to enable what we are trying to start up is kind of a citizen developer mentality. So we have a lot of developers in our company that like to come up with neat ideas and develop tools that can assist. And if they get traction, then they get promoted to be reviewed to may go into a production situation. In the past, one of the big problems of enabling people to be creative and create their own tools that may solve a problem and get promoted to where it can be widely used was just getting to data, access to data. So leveraging Boomi from an API management standpoint, creating kind of an API catalog to create APIs and be able to identify frequently used APIs and share those to the citizen developer group so they can expedite any type of solution they're trying to do. And then let's see. What is your favorite car and why? I'm probably going to say a dream car would be a DeLorean, but the one from Back to the Future, the one that actually takes you in the past or the future, that would probably be a good one.
Would you go forward at this point, or would you go backwards?
That's a good question. Maybe if it's like it is the Back to the Future, I could probably go either in direction and decide I didn't like it and go the other direction. So
There you go.
I'd probably check them both out.
Thanks for sharing, Alan. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. No problem.
Ethan, I saw you had volunteered, or were volunteered. You want to jump in and tell your story?
Yeah, no problem at all. Yeah, I was going to jump in earlier before Eric shared. So it was really good to hear his journey as well, going from outside in. So really good stuff there. So it's been great to hear the two folks before me. So my name is Ethan Pack. I'm the Director of Enterprise Architecture and Solutions Delivery at TDCU. TDCU is the largest credit union in the greater Houston metropolitan area, fourth largest in Texas. I've been with TDCU for about a little bit more than 2.5 years now. It's really been an exciting journey as part of the organization and getting deeper into banking. My background's been largely in financial services banking, but to be living it, it's been really, really exciting. So why purchasing on Boomi? It really, I think, is to address the biggest challenge that we've all faced in this digital transformation era, which are the kind of the weird and softer areas of culture, interconnectedness. I heard a couple people mention that, and speed. Definitely heard that shared earlier as well. And responding to this COVID-19 emergence has just exacerbated that, right? So really with Boomi, it has been to really nudge the organization's culture, right? And the rapid delivery of the solutions we've been able to put in place over the first 1.5 years of being Boomi customers has really been rapid delivery of solutions that provide hard-hitting member and employee outcomes to help really spark that art of the possible, let people see it, and it not to be so mystified or locked away in PowerPoints and Visio diagrams, but just to really, really nudge that culture so deeply. And again, the speed and the kind of the ease of use of Boomi certainly helped us with that big time. So that would be the principal why and business challenge is opening eyeballs, inspiring light bulbs, and showing quick results. As far as the Boomi community, I personally haven't dived deeply into the community much. I know it's shame, and I do look forward to, of course, more of these user group meetings and attending when we're all able to do that thing like face-to-face discussions again. But I know my team leverages the community materials deeply. Again, we've been able to speed through a lot of things because we luckily have some really, really strong talent on the team that kind of knows this space pretty natively of integrations. So that's been a benefit. And again, the ease of use of Boomi didn't make us have to dive too much, but I know that we're going to have my and our team's involvement will only deepen as we get into some of the more gnarly areas that we may not have gone down that others have, or just the overall surfacing common patterns in community. I've heard folks speak to that as well. As far as where next for Boomi and where is the journey taking us next, again, I think we're at a place I've shared internally. We're almost at a victim of our own success. We're a very, very small team and pretty small IT shop in general, and a pretty small organization that's doing some amazing things, but almost a victim of our own success. So really where we're next is looking and making sure we harden what we've already started with Boomi, certainly continuing to expose more APIs, so hooking up those internal web services and exposing them as APIs so we can either eat our own dog food, drink our own champagne. That's going to be a big focus. Of course, we're really advancing data maturity in the organization. So Master Data Hub, we're licensed for a bit of that. So I would certainly make sure we have some good proofs of concepts and baby weight solutions in place so we could really make some good next steps with regard to Master Data Hub and maturing how we leverage data and getting those golden records that we all want of our customers for us members. A member is our customer. So that's going to be huge. Flow, I would also say we have some Flow licensing. Really going to selectively look at utilizing Flow when we have some good internal business process streamlining efforts to really revolutionize. That's one of the best parts of registering for Boomi World is being able to drink the Boomi champagne and how they've leveraged Flow for the registration process and all those areas. So definitely when those type of opportunities come up, we'll certainly be getting some Flow experience in our life. So just a lot of amazing things, but it's also part of helping now that we've lit so many light bulbs, and we launched a really cool appointment scheduling solution that leverages Boomi pretty heavily. And I think the speed and the outcomes, like I said, victim of our own success to some degree, which I guess is a good thing. And then moving on to the favorite car and why, my GLK 350, again, it's not outfitted any kind of crazy and got it used or pre-owned, but it's probably my favorite car so far. But my ultimate dream car since childhood, and still kind of like my favorite next car or fun car, Jeep Wrangler, and even like the Jeep CJ7. I've always kind of, and I'm even more so now liking the outdoor life. So there's nothing that says get out off the beaten path like a Jeep and that freedom of exploration. I'm a structured guy, so maybe the Jeep also plays on my wild side, so to speak, my hippie side. But that's a bit about my blurb. Maybe hopefully a little bit 2 minutes or less-ish.
Good. Thank you. Thank you.
Give me a Jeep and give me a beach. That's all I need.
Exactly.
And I heard it was your birthday yesterday. I was just informed.
It was, yeah. Thanks.
You didn't get a Jeep for your birthday.
No, not yeah. No, if we want to measure birthday gifts to a Jeep, that we're definitely working down the barometer of what that was. But it was really nice. Thanks for the call out.
Awesome. Well, happy birthday to you. Hope you had an enjoyable day. So something I forgot to do, I did forget to launch that poll earlier, so I'm gonna pop that up now. And to keep us on track, let's take a pause there for that. So for those of you who participated in that, thank you so much. It's great to hear your stories. We'd love to hear in more detail, perhaps on the next one. If you're interested in joining our speaker series, that would be great. But let's get ready for the next part of the agenda. So Jonathan, you're out there still? Still connected? Maybe the headset's in the wrong ear, perhaps. Can you hear me? And Krill, I see you're there.
I was
there. You are.
I was muted, and so I was
there
trying.
You are. I thought you couldn't hear me. I'm glad you're still with us. In Krill, we have you there. I see you're there, and Ryan, you're there as well.
Yep.
Great. So this is going to be just an open dialogue with Jonathan and his Boomi story between Paul Krilla, and I'll let you all introduce yourselves, and Ryan Beal. Why don't you guys take it away? I'll leave the poll open for another 30, 60 seconds or so, and then if we have some time towards the end, we can talk about the results from this. But I'll let you guys take it away, and then we can resume with the agenda.
All right. Paul, you want to kick off?
Sure, yeah.
Hey, this is Ryan Beal, and I am the account executive I've been working with Jonathan for the past couple of years, and he's at Freeport LNG, liquefied natural gas company in Houston. And I talk about Jonathan a lot. I think he's a great person for this user group. Before Boomi, he obviously is a developer and he's very technical and savvy, but he leveraged the Boomi community at LMS to get fully certified. And he's extremely sharp and savvy within the Boomi platform, and you'll hear that today when he talks. But I just wanted to introduce Jonathan as one of my favorite customers, and again, super savvy with the Boomi platform. Paul?
Sure. Hey, everyone. So my name is Paul Krilla. I don't know if you guys can tell with the background or the accent, but I'm actually based out of Boston. I'm a solutions consultant, been with Boomi for about 2 years now. However, I've been in the integration space for a little under 15 years. I actually started implementing MuleSoft and Informatica as an implementation consultant. Don't kill me over it. But after that, I actually built a fintech solution that was sold to a pretty large conglomerate. And prior to Boomi, I was a pre-sales director where I built and scaled a pre-sales organization focused on API strategy, data management, and enterprise integration. And been with Boomi, like I said, for a little over 2 years. Best decision I've made. Jonathan?
So my name is Jonathan Hart. I'm a Boomi developer for Freeport LNG. We're a natural gas liquefaction company based in Freeport, Texas. We built a facility on Quintana Island. For the first time, we're trying to get in on liquefying natural gas and exporting gas, and treating gas as an export instead of an import, which has been the case historically. Whenever we first started, I joined Freeport in 2016. We were just starting the beginning phases of developing all the software. We opted to develop everything in-house because there's nothing really out there that existed. A little bit about the business is, we take natural gas coming in from the largest allowable inlet that we can build in Texas. The inlet pipeline's about 50 inches in diameter, somewhere around in there. We take gas in at full speed, we liquefy it, and we send it out to tankers. To give you an idea of just the sheer scale of this, the distance for everything from the inlet to the tankers is over a mile long. We're fed by the largest gas inlet that we can build at the highest velocity that we can take. From there, the gas is split into 4 processing pipelines, and it's converted to liquid in less than 10 minutes. Each pipeline is powered by 4 30-megawatt electric turbines, so it's 120 megawatts of electricity on each one. So as a whole, we consume close to 500 megawatts of electricity every hour when we're at full capacity. That puts us either as the largest consumer of electricity in Texas or one of them. I believe we're the largest private enterprise that consumes electricity in Texas. The liquid gas is stored in 3 storage tanks. Each one is the size of the Toyota Center in downtown Houston, but is 3 times taller. So it's about 9 Toyota Centers of liquid natural gas storage capacity that we have. The software that we developed is to help us manage estimate tank levels. So when you're liquefying natural gas at such a high speed, you don't want to run into a situation where if one cargo ship is late, if that pushes everybody down the schedule by an hour or 2, we don't want the tanks to reach the top, or we don't want them to bottom out. So we had to custom develop a lot of software around just managing the tank levels, estimating what the impacts of each ship coming in would be, as well as routine maintenance if one of the liquefaction trains goes offline, predicting the impacts of that sort of thing. So when I first joined and they explained all of this to me, I thought that it was absolutely insane and questioned whether or not I wanted to join such a team. But it's been been 4 years now. It's been a wild ride, and Boomi is pretty much at the center of it. We figured out early on that if we're going to develop in-house applications to do all of these things, we were going to need some sort of middleware kind of solution and need some integration capabilities. And when we looked at what is it? We looked online and started comparing and evaluating some frameworks. And Boomi appealed to us because not only do we needed integration, and we needed middleware, and we needed something that was an enterprise solution and something that had a bona fide and supported method of connecting to SAP. A lot of the frameworks that we had found didn't really have any kind of legitimized support for communicating with SAP. And Boomi also has an enterprise support model and a community, and is highly revered. And one of the real pleasures of working with Boomi has been the fact that as we've grown and as we need new technologies and as the business continues to grow, so far there's always been some sort of feature of Boomi or something in the Boomi library that has supported us that we've been able to leverage and use. So here recently, just in the last few weeks, we've started up needing to use EDI as a communication protocol. And we did not have to go and evaluate some other EDI framework or hire some outside expert or anything like that. Boomi has EDI capabilities out of the box. And that was something that we didn't predict 4 years ago. So, that was a pleasant surprise. So Boomi it seems to have available for everything foreseen and unforeseen. It's been a real pleasure working with it. So the way that we use Boomi, as I said a minute ago, we needed both integration and a middleware. And one of the features of Boomi, it has a feature called real-time integration and web service. And what we've done is we've used Boomi to stand up some XML and JSON REST services internally. And we use that as our middleware. And so all of the routing logic and routing and processing and mapping and updating, all of that logic is housed within Boomi. And outside of the applications. So what we wanted to avoid was having 4 or 5 or 6 applications that all connect to one database, and they all, if we were to update one stored procedure, for example, then we have to go and we have to update 5 or 6 applications and their data access layers and make those modifications and retest and redeploy all those applications. We didn't want to do that. So we have all of that under the hood of Boomi. And that's worked out really well. Our pipeline is rather complex because of the number of applications we have. So we have 6 lower environments and 2 production environments. We have a dev environment, test, state, a sandbox, and a beta, and then 2 individual production environments that house applications based on their purpose. So Boomi has had the flexibility to allow us to do that. We're able to package up and deploy our processes. We can package them all together. We can package them separately. We can package down to the individual process if we want to. So that's been very useful. It also has a very thorough and robust API for connecting to their cloud management. So it's called Atomsphere. So we connect to Atomsphere and we can download all kinds of information about process executions. We can download process logs. We can download audit logs. We can see who was the last person to work on an existing process. We can see what's deployed in each environment. So all around, it's been a really good technology choice for us. I'd say by leveraging Boomi, we've eliminated the need for at least half a dozen technologies, and it keeps our architecture fairly simple compared to what it would be otherwise. So want to talk about some of the advantages that using Boomi. With the Boomi integration, at least, they have what's called the codeless development, which is the shapes. So if you can understand flowcharts, you're in a good position to start with Boomi. You don't have to have a lot of technical knowledge to look at a Boomi integration process and understand it at a basic level. That's been very useful for whenever I'm having meetings with people from other departments. So like for accounting and commercial, when we talk about where the data needs to go, what it needs to be, that kind of stuff, I can pull up the process on any browser without a need for a dev machine. I don't have to sit there and try to explain any code. The process comes up and I'm able to show them, you know, all the individual shapes and the arrows and say, well, this data is coming in, this is where it's going. And the business users understand that really easy without having to know anything about the code or any of the complex details underneath. If we want to get complicated, it does also support custom coding. It has the ability, we can add extra libraries if we want to, so we could custom develop our own C# libraries or Java libraries and include those into Boomi and use a script shape and leverage our own custom libraries when we want to. So that's also really nice. With Boomi, we're able to have the advantage of a cloud-based solution as well as an internal solution. So all of our lower environments and all of our servers are hosted within the company behind the firewall. All of our data is protected by our security team. So we don't have to worry about putting our data out on the cloud and exposing it in that manner. However, having the ability to connect to Boomi from any computer, any machine with a browser or a tablet, a phone, a laptop, a computer, it doesn't matter where I am. I can, if I'm talking to a user, I can just go straight to their desk and say, go to platform.boomi.com, I'll show you. It's very, very convenient in that regard because my development platform goes wherever I go. If there's a device, I can talk about what I'm doing with anybody. So that's it in a nutshell. We've been using it for 4 years. It's a platform that seems to grow with us. Above all else, one of the things that I appreciate is the ability to provide feedback in the community and to be able to propose ideas. Whenever we first started, I had proposed the idea that not enough details about components and processes was available through the API. That it'd be nice to be able to connect to the API and see additional details about the processes. And that was something that they turned around and they delivered fairly quickly. And that was the first time that it kind of caught me by surprise. It's like, whoa, you know, these people listen. So it's just been a real pleasure in that regard. They do updates every month, and with each new update every month, they exactly what's changed. They show you, you know, who proposed the idea, what the conversations around it were, and they provide really good and useful educational articles about the changes that they've made, and they really make sure that you're prepared for any upcoming changes or breaking changes that may occur. They give you a 2-week heads up to test things and make sure that everything go. So that's about all I got. I'm not really good at ending these type of things, so I guess that's it.
Jonathan,
That's
by the way,
a lot of intel. That's great.
yeah,
stuff.
Jonathan, you did fantastic. And, you know, I had the pleasure yesterday of speaking with Jonathan, Ryan, and Andrew. And, you know, Jonathan is an anomaly because Jonathan's background is actually a full stack developer. Now, Jonathan, from a Boomi perspective, are you primarily the sole person that's developing in Boomi, or do you have other personas within your organization or team that are actually using Boomi?
We have other as well. So we have an application support manager where it's essentially his job to make sure that all of our components, third-party components, etc., when there's an update, he makes sure that all the updates go out. We also have an analyst who has access to the process reporting. So our analyst who interfaces directly with the clients, he's able to connect to Boomi and see just the process reports. So if there was an error, for example, and a business user had an error, they can submit a ticket, and we're able to limit certain users to just be able to see things like process reporting when there's an error and to be able to get the error details. So it allows our help desk team and our frontline support teams to be able to quickly get back with a business user and say, hey, you know what, that was just like a small network issue. Try it again, it should work. And then they try it again and it works. I don't have to tell you, sometimes with business users, they get one error and it floors their world, and then they have to wait for hours, sometimes days, before they can resume their work. And so the permissions model has really been useful for that. So all around, we've got about 3 or 4 people that use Boomi. My manager does Boomi. I do Boomi, and then we've got an applications manager and from an operation point.
That's awesome. So I think, we have a minute left, but what I heard was, I believe you're using EDI and integration right now, but are you evaluating any other products under the platform? I keep my ear to the ground. Flow is something that I've kind of got a bookmark on. Flow it seems to be a pretty good, robust business process management BPM type platform. I've used BPMs in the past. We have a BPM solution already, but if as far as I guess, if the need to switch things out, I've got my eye on Flow. But yeah, right now it's just integration and EDI. That's awesome. Well, Jonathan, thank you very much for your time. I always love these Q&A sessions because I always learn something and I could bring it back to my customers. Honestly, it was probably one of the first times that I heard 5 non-production environments being used within Boomi. That's pretty impressive. So with that being said, Jonathan, thank you again. I'll kick it over to Andrew.
That's great. Thanks, you guys. I really appreciate that as well. Paul, I do like these kind of very open form, organic conversations that we have. I mean, it's great to get the presentations, the PowerPoints, which are a great addition to these events, but it's dialogues like this that are very open and naturally flowing, organic. Just Jonathan, you really told your story so well and so eloquently, and I think that Paul and Ryan probably had a bunch of questions teed up, but I think your second job is a mind reader. So you preemptively answered questions that they had lined up. So great job, all 3 of you. So I appreciate that, and look forward to sharing this on the community. I would say if folks do have questions for Jonathan, would love to either save them to the end if we have a few extra minutes. If we don't, you want to pop them into the chat. Jonathan, if you want to keep your eyes on that, folks may have some questions for you in there. That'd be great. Or you can always connect on the community as well. So those are all the options. Scott, I think you should be ready to go and present. I'll let you do your own intro as well. You should be able to share now. You're with us, Scott?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. And hopefully you can now see my screen. Apologize, I don't have a working camera on this machine. I think my face is showing on the, it is for me anyway. So if it's not, you're not missing much. But I wanted to just start by telling you, I guess I represent higher education. That wasn't one of the poll options, but I noticed on the poll that there were only like 56%, I think, of people from Texas in this Texas users group. So just in case you don't know where Baylor University is or what it is, we live and work in Waco, Texas, which is we consider it Central Texas, more or less geographically centered in Texas, and it's also exactly halfway between Dallas and Austin. So those of you in Texas probably know that. If you drive up and down I-35, you'll see us right by the highway. And just a little piece of trivia for those who probably don't know, Texas was founded as a state in 1845, but Baylor was actually founded a couple of months before that by the Republic of Texas. We are a private university. We have about 18,000 students. Majority are from Texas, but we have people from all over the United States and 91 foreign countries. We serve 3,900 faculty and staff. That is, believe it or not, mostly staff, but it's about 50-50. And we have a lot of people that are associated with the university in some sort of official capacity that are really not employees as well. Anything from private contractors, large contracting groups, to visiting scholars from other schools or places. And so we have a variety of needs as far as the user community goes, as you can imagine in higher ed. And, you know, in this particular environment we're in right now with most people working from home, but all these students flocking back to campus, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I've read a few stories of other colleges that have already started and are having to pivot to more online and things like that. So keep your ears and eyes open and see what's happening at Baylor. Let me see if I can move on here and talk to you a little bit about Boomi now. So I think I just wanted to focus a little bit early on just what we use and how it's been beneficial to us. And then I'd like to take a few minutes to dive deep into a little bit of how we use it, just with some slides. Most of these slides are here just to keep me on track, but I'm not quite as eloquent as Jonathan was, and I appreciate, I can relate to a lot of things Jonathan said and may try to tie some of those similarities in here, but we currently license the integration product and API management. I heard somebody mention, one of the application connectors earlier. We actually don't utilize any of the application connectors, but we make heavy use of the technology connectors. We have a number of Oracle and SQL Server databases on-prem. We use a lot of, connect to a lot of REST and SOAP web services. We still do a lot of file-based integrations. And for, we have such a variety of needs. I can't imagine trying to do what I think Jonathan was pointing out about giving access to a lot of people to get to the process reporting and figure out their own errors. So we build in a lot of notification just using SMTP. You just mail it, and you can easily take the data, put it in a CSV or something, and they can see, okay, this was the person, this was the problem that we had, and it really, really has helped with them being able to, kind of manage data issues without having to involve IT. So surprisingly, even a mail connector has been a very useful thing. Besides connectors, we make heavy use of Atom queues, and we have on-premises and cloud deployed things, which I will discuss a little bit in a few minutes. And that includes using, for high availability, molecules on-prem. And then API management, we started using it early on, largely just to kind of help manage building our own REST endpoints, because you can have the web services processes built in Boomi integration, but then, securing those and deploying those as REST web services API management allows us to do that. There's a whole lot of capabilities beyond that as far as building APIs we're not taking advantage of, and a lot of new capabilities that I think we would be using in place of some of the stuff I'm going to show you if we were to do this again. But and there you go. And we use Atom-based user management for that, as opposed to, for those of you who are familiar with it, they're brokers. So how we benefited from using Boomi, really one of our initial driving factors in getting into an integration platform was, well, frankly, we were kind of still stuck in the 20th century in the way we deal holistically with integrating with other systems, just sort of all over the map, file-based integrations, no real consistent view of anything. And when we moved to Boomi, we didn't try to just fix all that. We basically started using Boomi more for use cases as they came up. And we're using it heavily now, but we still have a lot of other things out there. But we were able to do some new things that we really were not able to do well before, to pull in and integrate cloud-hosted systems, because we have so many of those to do a variety of services, which I'll talk about a few examples in a minute. And we can do real-time integration of data, or even real-time integration within an application that's getting data from our on-prem database and our student system. Things like that we just never do really at all before. We can go the other way. We can access API services, web services that are available in some of our cloud-based systems. And we still use it heavily to work with vendors or partners that have services or hosted systems for us, but want, file-based integrations. So it's helped us to even centralize that. From a services and, functional or business point of view, we have been able to greatly improve a number of services to our students. 3 prime examples that we've done in Boomi that kind of fall into what I was describing a minute ago this was actually our first kind of really live thing about 3 years ago. Baylor has a move-in day at the dorms where everybody arrives at their prescribed time and they're supposed to check in before they can actually go to their rooms. And so managing that was always a real headache for our housing office. And so we built for them an integration that leverages a cloud system they use for managing housing. And when someone checks in, that system has the ability to do an event-driven data subscription. So we leveraged that to call a web service we built, talks to a system on-prem which manages our ID cards and opens up access for that student's ID card to work with their room. Their ID card is essentially the key to their hotel room, so to speak, but it doesn't work until they check in. And so that was really a very, very helpful service we were able to provide early on for really it's only like 2 days a year that it's just used heavily, but it was a great service. Another one that's really an application that's hosted in the cloud that does real-time integration, pulling data out of our student system about a student's financial eligibility, and then even posting data back to that student system when they are hired into a student worker position. And we just recently developed with our bookstore partner to give them information that they need for their online bookstore services out of their student system. And I'll mention it probably again later, but I want to put a plug in for Boomi Professional Services. We've had a developer in professional services that's worked with us on many projects from the beginning over the last 3 years, and really helped augment our staff because we're spread pretty thin, to develop that particular one. We have used it to support online actual academic programs. In the graduate programs, we've started to offer many online programs, completely online, remote type programs, and there are partners that help us in administering those. And so information about the students, their courses, their faculty, the enrollment in those courses, and we're able to pull out of our student system to help those projects. And lastly, but definitely not least, we have spent the last 2 years moving our on-premises based human resources and financial systems to Oracle Cloud. And that was a huge undertaking in itself with big consulting help and so on. We went live with it on June 1st, which is the beginning of our fiscal year. And there were 43 distinct integration projects we had to do. A lot of those were things that were kind of built in, real time and batch and so otherwise to Oracle Cloud. But about half of them were things we needed to develop, and we used Boomi heavily for that to connect to 15 distinct systems, including things on-prem and in the cloud. So here's where I'd like to go a little bit deeper into something I mentioned briefly a minute ago, but oops, hang on a second here, lost my screen. So I talked about using Atom queues, and I talked about how we use on-prem molecules and API management. So this is going to get a little bit large, so I'll go through it kind of quick. We took a hybrid approach to building integrations using both Boomi's Atom Cloud and on-prem. And let me just kind of describe it to you first, and then we can talk about why here in a minute. But I gathered from looking at the poll earlier that I don't think there are any prospective customers. So most of your customers already know what a molecule is. If you haven't worked with your own environments and have only used Boomi's Atom Cloud, then this might be beneficial. But one thing from a sales side of things that kind of I didn't understand until I started using this, but as cute as it sounds, a molecule is not multiple atoms. A molecule is really multiple nodes in the same atom. And that's really mostly important for licensing purposes. A molecule is just an atom. But for high availability, it's great because it manages its own load between nodes, and you can have more than two. Right now we're just using 2 nodes, really more for high availability capabilities. But for this hybrid approach, looks something like this. We might have a cloud system like in the housing example I mentioned a few minutes ago, and it would connect to an on-prem system. And in order to do that, something else we had to do was make sure that we had a load balancer in place. Now, again, this may be common knowledge to most of you, but for those who haven't done web services into Boomi, if you're using a molecule, the high availability is handled within the molecule itself and handling balance across loads. But the web services traffic is still has to be routed to one or the other nodes in order to balance that, and so that's where the load balancer comes in. Probably obvious, but in the Boomi side, that means deploying web services. We use API management to control those through API listener endpoints in both the cloud and on-prem. So this is the example I mentioned a minute ago where our housing system reaches out, calls a web service, which calls another web service, which updates the database. And we have many others that do that. I mentioned the student job board one here. I thought I'd throw 2 examples on here for a minute, just because in a moment I want to make a point with that. But the big question is, why would we do this? Why did we decide to basically build 2 processes whenever we maybe could have done it in one? And aside from just it actually made it more complicated to manage licensing and everything. But the reasons we tried to do this were really security and being able to, as I mentioned earlier, easily integrate cloud systems with our data that's on-prem was a big deal. And our Chief Information Security Officer, who is currently our CIO as well, he was really, really adamant that we tried to limit it to a single point of entry. We give his credit to Boomi, maybe. We much preferred to trust Boomi's Atom Cloud than having to open up firewall to so many other different systems. And so that was really the main driving factor. And also, and I think this is very similar to something that I think Jonathan was talking about with regard to middleware and web services, we've greatly utilized especially our student system. A lot of things are using that, and so we've been able to build sort of a common user interface library here at this level, and then have different projects use that same API to pull data and then transform it and do whatever sort of cloud system specific data mapping needed to be done. The only downside, honestly, is it cost us a connection license. We use an HTTP client connection to get to these web services. So it's interesting to note, though, that that's really a one-time thing, and this is why I wanted to show 2 examples. As with any connection, you can use it multiple times once you've got it going to a particular endpoint. So we only had to use 1 connection license to do this. And because these are listeners, we're using API limits here, but we aren't using any connections for these kinds of applications to connect to us. So that's our hybrid approach, and high availability, obviously, like I mentioned, the molecule itself handles that. If you haven't ever implemented a molecule, you might want to know that, the one, I guess, common point of failure, whatever, is they have to share some storage. There's certain things that you can't really do in failover mode, like atom queues, and but to implement this with a load balancer and setting up some health check capabilities here, both at the TCP level with the load balancer and also with a simple web service that is running in low latency mode that our load balancer can ping every 20 seconds. It can easily detect when one of the nodes is down, usually to take it out of service, and then it would reroute the traffic. And we also take advantage of the try-catch capabilities in our cloud side of this to resend things if it does fail. And we have had pretty much zero data loss with this model. The timing works really well for us to be able to, take a node out of service and keep our real-time services running. Really, the only other thing I would add about that whole architecture is you also have the ability in these processes to return status codes and let the other systems do some sort of error checking as well. Do have a few other slides, but in the interest of time, I'm going to just skip some of the additional things I wanted to mention, and just say that these are various types of integration patterns we've done. I would say that what I mentioned about our housing system example is very near real time. It's just passing data. It's not really integrating the systems. But the student job board one I gave is an example of a real-time application. The application itself is customized to use web services that we have built. And we've got other things like that where just web apps are pulling data from our systems through APIs now, instead of us having to give access directly to databases. And that also helps with something Jonathan mentioned, and that's more centralizing the logic. So the business logic, the data logic, if you will, is being handled more centrally now instead of having a lot of different applications have to do some of the same things. Using atom queues, we do a lot of store and forwarding, and we do both cloud to cloud and cloud to ground. Again, I was going to talk about more what that meant here a little bit, but I want to skip some of that in the interest of time. I do want to make a plug, though, for some helpful resources. Someone's already mentioned the training and certifications. I think those are awesome. They've been helpful. I've learned most of what I know through the trainings. Occasionally do free webinars about the products I'm using or things I might be considering that are available. I think the customer support at Boomi has been excellent. I noticed our account rep and our client satisfaction manager were on earlier, so kudos to them. I think the online support center has done a great job in being responsive to us. There already been lots of plugs for the community and user groups, and I actually changed this slide while Chris Port was talking earlier. I attended the first two Boomi Worlds, was not able to this last year, largely because of that huge Oracle Cloud project, but I'm glad to hear that we're going to have some of this out of these world opportunities coming up. And again, a plug for the professional services. The Jumpstart training really got us going 3 years ago with some initial technical architecture help, and we still use them for assistance with development, sometimes to help us figure out how best to do things, sometimes to implement an entire piece for us. So that has been our experience. Took a little longer to talk through it than I expected, but I'd love to have time for questions. Andrew, I'll pass it back to you and go from there.
That's great, Scott. Thank you very much for all that. And I think that all of the points that you listed here and the helpful resources are music to Chris Port's ears. And I saw Chris Timmerman on here as well as our VP of Customer Assurance. So thank you for that. All great points. So maybe we have time for one question. Then we'll move on with Sean Keenan. But if you have additional questions for Scott, can't think of right now, and you want to post them into the chat, Scott, if you wouldn't mind just taking a peek at that from time to time and be able to address questions there. We also have a higher ed get together similar to this, but all focused on higher ed customers. Scott, you and I just spoke about that yesterday. So if you want to hear more from Scott and get a connect, that's an opportunity to do so. It's on September 22nd. It's not yet been posted to the community, but sign up will be posted soon. But yeah, any questions for Scott? Okay. So use the chat if you do have follow-up questions, or use the community as an option. Sean, you're on deck and you're now up at bat. I'll let you tell your story. I've been on several calls with Sean, and I've heard him speak several times. So you're all in for a treat here. Sean's got a ton of knowledge to share, and hopefully we'll provide you all with some information that you can take away and be able to continue to improve your journey on Boomi. So Sean, I think you can share. How do you want to work this? I know we have a little exercise. We want to kick it off with that, or?
Yeah, sure. You're welcome to kind of post that, I guess, while I'm chatting, and then maybe at the end we'll kind of take a look at the results, and I'll just maybe round it out based on what we see there. So
okay. Do you want to? So I'm going to share my screen so we can see the results popping up. So I don't know if you had a deck that you were planning on presenting.
I was going to walk through some slides if that's all right.
Yeah. So do you want to start off with this then?
Sure. Yeah, that works great.
Okay. Great. So if you all could pull up a browser for me. I'm going to share this in 1 second. Share screen. Here we go. You should all see this. Go to menti.com and then punch in that code there. Thank you for that, Matt. If you look in the chat, you can just copy and paste it. And then as you answer that question, we'll start to see the results pop up on the screen, and then I'll let Sean take it away and kind of talk through this, and then go through his slides as well. Another little interactive experience, hopefully that adds to your overall value on today's session.
Perfect. Are you okay if I jump in here, Andrew?
Sure, go for it.
Yeah, great. This is cool, actually, seeing the results pop up kind of live here. This is great. Well, hey, folks, I'm Sean Keenan. I was the co-founder of a company called Unify Software that Boomi acquired towards the latter part of last year. And here today just to talk a little bit about the two services that Unify offers, now called Boomi Data Catalog and Prep. And the two services are a data catalog service and a prep service. So just going to talk a little bit about, some of the problem statements that we see across enterprises where these services can essentially help customers like yourselves around leveraging your data to kind of drive more decisions on behalf of your business and, really provide agility around leveraging data. And definitely one of the things we're going to touch on and kind of why we put this little Mentimeter together is, some of the work that we do around some of these cloud databases and really helping accelerate companies' journeys to deploying and getting value out of these solution suites. So hopefully you'll get some value. I'm seeing it looks like people do have some plans of leveraging, some of these solution suites. So hopefully the folks get to see, how we provide some value around that. So great to see some of those results, and I'll definitely touch on that towards the end.
Well, Sean, do you want me to stop sharing? And
yeah, if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and pop up a slide, and maybe we can revisit that at the end if there's some updated results.
Cool. I'll leave it open for folks that want to continue to do that. And we can bring it back up towards the end.
That'd be great. Yeah, perfect.
Awesome.
Let me go ahead and share my screen here. And Andrew, if you can just give me a heads up when the slide deck starts playing, that'd be great.
Good.
Perfect. So like I was talking about earlier, these data catalog and prep services really play in the world of helping companies leverage data to drive decisions or drive new products and services into their organization. It's really the key component of where these two services play. And I think, like you see on the slide, right, data is top of mind for every organization today, right? Every organization is trying to get a competitive advantage around how they leverage data and maybe the behaviors they see from their customers that help them bring new products and services or be more proactive, essentially, versus reactive of kind of managing their customer experience. So let me move on to the next slide here. So if you think about kind of the iPaaS marketplace and really where Boomi's been a market leader, continues to be a market leader and will into the future, is around application integration. Just even hearing some of the customer stories today, which were awesome, by the way, of some of the problems that Boomi's been able to solve, and some of the solutions they've brought to market really have been primarily in that application ecosystem, right? Those applications that folks run their business on. Some of those apps we just even heard about today around the onboarding at the university, as well as some of the things happening from an energy standpoint. And those tend to be pretty well-known systems, right? The data inside of them, the business processes they support. People fundamentally understand those systems well, and kind of the users of them and how they're being used. But really where these catalog and prep services come into play are some of those more unknown systems. Some of those relational databases that might be lying around your data center, or as we just were kind of asking the Mentimeter question, some of those new cloud file systems or cloud databases, or even file systems that live inside of your on-premise environment. Those are really environments that the catalog and prep services kind of bring to life, if you will, and help augment what Boomi's been a market leader of really enabling search and discovery across some of these unknown systems, like those relational databases. Some people may understand some of the data that's in them, but there might be some tables and views that, frankly, haven't been explored or let's say known inside that relational database previously. And it's that catalog service that Boomi now offers that kind of brings those unknown systems to life, really providing a nice search and discovery experience, and really helping organizations understand not only the metadata that exists inside those systems, but also bringing to life some of the data that exists inside those systems. And so that catalog service is really where kind of the journey begins of enabling users across lines of business and across IT to really come in and start interacting with data that may not have been accessible in the past. And then using that prep service, which is really kind of the next generation of ETL, to enable users inside the organization to start bringing some of these disparate systems of data together for, let's say, maybe some reporting and analytics use case, or maybe even a downstream application integration use case where there's some upfront preparation, cleansing, enrichment of data that needs to be done prior to integrating it with an application. So that's really how these services kind of help round out the iPaaS platform and really augment some of the things that Boomi has been a market leader in for years. And so if you kind of think about where those catalog service and prep services play, the advent of the cloud has really disrupted a lot of the organizations that we work with, right? There's a lot of new applications that enterprises are leveraging to drive their business. The advent of the file systems in the cloud and the applications in the cloud and the services that cloud providers like AWS, Google, and Microsoft Azure bring to bear within inside the enterprise has really made the enterprise landscape quite complex, right? There's now lots of systems and there's lots of users within inside the business that really want to leverage these systems and then ultimately leverage the data inside of those systems. And as I think the folks on the phone here know so well, there's only a finite number of IT resources to really help support all of these business constituents around all of these endeavors that they want to leverage data for. So, we're trying to help break down those barriers and really bring more automation and augmentation from a service perspective into the hands of not only IT, but even helping the business participate in some of this world of data engineering and data discovery. So that's really where those services are trying to help bring value to the enterprise and to organizations like yourselves. But there is a component of doing this, of leveraging data inside the enterprise that's super important. That's always top of mind is, hey, if we're going to bring all this data and make it readily available to our organization and our business constituents to leverage, well, how do we do that without risking our organization? How do we have the right governance and control frameworks that allow us to actually enable the business and IT to use data in a free way, but know that it's happening in an authorized and controlled manner? And so these services, along with the Boomi platform, have a lot of capabilities around governance, things like identifying where your sensitive data might live inside of these source systems automatically. And we do that through a series of machine learning techniques of actually introspecting data inside data sets, whether it be a relational database table, an API object from Salesforce, and literally looking at every individual column and the data inside those columns to say, hey, you might have some compliance issues here because we're finding your customer's phone number in these various source systems, and you might actually want to go provide some authorization or governance rules around that data before you let people interact with it, as an example. So lots of controls, lots of governance frameworks essentially inside of these products and these services that make you feel comfortable actually providing and exposing this data to the business so they can leverage it to drive decisions or downstream application, if you will. So governance is always top of mind for us as we bring these capabilities to market and really try and help enable your organization to leverage data. So maybe just a little bit more detail about these services and really how they function and some of the value they create. I think that data catalog service is really what you, I hope, think it would be based on the name of it. It really is your inventory of all data essentially inside every system that you connect it to. So think of it way back when as kind of that card catalog in the library. It really is your catalog of data essentially across your enterprise landscape. And how that catalog service works is and it can connect to a lot of things. It can connect to file systems. It can connect to APIs like you're familiar with on the Boomi platform side. It can connect to enterprise applications that might be running inside of your data center. And it's really good at dealing with kind of relational databases and NoSQL data stores, whether in the cloud or on-prem. But once we get a successful connection string to those source systems and you provide us, let's say, a username and password, there's a discovery service that literally is going to automatically crawl all metadata and samples of data inside of those source systems that it's connected to. And it does that for a couple reasons. One, it wants to understand the schema of every entity that exists inside of those source systems. So if you have tables and views inside a relational database, those become what we call data sets inside the catalog. If you have files sitting in file systems, we know how to crawl those automatically and actually register what we think the data structure is of those files. And then, APIs, right? Salesforce, NetSuite, Dynamic CRM, all those solutions are going to tell us what their object model looks like. But then we're going to do a bunch of automation on top of those systems where we're taking a sample of data from each one of those data entities. And we're computing a bunch of statistics, kind of your normal statistics that you might expect out of a solution like this, like the min, the max, the mean, the standard deviation, the median, the mode, let's say, of a numeric column, or what the distinct values, let's say, of a string column might be. But then we're also actually doing some higher level classification. We might connect to a SQL Server environment, and there's a table in there, called customer, let's say, and column 1 is literally named column 1, and it's a string value. We actually take data out of that column, and we say, no, that's not named column 1. We actually think it's social security number, or we think it's IP address, or we think it's first name or last name or street address or zip code or URL. There's a number of patterns that we're trying to detect inside of your data. Frankly, most to understand where we think you have sensitive data exposure. Most of the patterns we ship with out of the box are around kind of the GDPR regulations as well as CCPA here in California, but there's a number of other patterns that we're looking for as well. You can actually give us patterns too. You might have a unique pattern in your data that's unique to your organization. And you might say, hey, Boomi, go find this pattern for me where it exists in every one of my source systems because I want to actually authorize it, or I want to mask it inside of your product because we don't want users actually seeing that value. Then we're also doing things like similarity. We're literally running a machine learning k-means clustering against all of your metadata to say, hey, we've got this data set that sits inside of this Oracle instance over here. Man, it looks a lot like this file over here in this file system where maybe business users upload data, let's say, inside your organization. Maybe it's an exact duplicate. Maybe you've got business users that are copying data all over the place and it's the same data set. We're really good at kind of finding and discovering that stuff automatically. Then we have something that's really neat, and it's really where kind of all the intellectual property of these services live, is we have a graph database, and we're constructing what we call the enterprise knowledge graph. That is literally a network-based representation of your enterprise's metadata in a graphical form. And we do that for a couple of reasons. One is when you first log into the product, and let's say you're in that catalog service and you're looking at a table in an Oracle database, we're going to show you a bunch of other things that we think are related to it automatically because these other objects are part of its network. So that's kind of what that catalog service does, right? You connect us up to your source systems. We're going to try and layer automatically a bunch of intelligence on top of those source systems so that you can go in and search and discover them and really understand from a very detailed level what data is inside of them and really the context of that data. So it provides a real nice search and discovery experience. Let's say if you're trying to enable maybe your sales operations unit to say, hey, we know these system sales you use to kind of run your business on. Here's a search and discovery experience around them. And then we're going to let you use this prep module to actually start joining up data sets, providing data enrichment, business rules around your data, and then even putting it into their destination of choice if maybe they want to go run some Tableau visualizations or Power BI visualizations against it, and really self-serve data into these various environments that, let's say, your business constituents use. That prep module is also meant for IT folks as well. It's just as powerful as kind of any ETL product on the market, but we deliver it in such a way where it's got a user experience with automation behind it, where actually more people can participate in the world of data engineering. And I'll share some use cases kind of towards the latter part of the conversation here, but that prep module supports anything to from a business user maybe taking a spreadsheet from census.gov, joining it up with some data, let's say inside of your organization, and then building some visualizations around it, to literally operationalizing the build of a data lake, let's say, on behalf of your enterprise. So really full featured, really robust. It can scale to any data volumes. Lots of our customers are processing terabytes, a day or even terabytes an hour for some use cases. So really leveraging, the compute power of the cloud to process data in an efficient and quick manner. So some of these things on the right, there's a ton of collaboration inside of the product. We like to try and enable our catalog and implement it in such a way with our customers that it really becomes kind of that Wikipedia of their enterprise data. There's data dictionaries, there's business glossaries, there's tagging, there's ratings, there's a whole conversational experience essentially inside of the product. So lots of ways that users can interact around data. I mentioned governance earlier, lots of really robust authorization framework. There's lots of analytics that we provide back to, let's say, this IT team within the organization of how people are using data inside their organization. AI, we leverage machine learning in a number of places. There's a neural network behind that enterprise knowledge graph that's constructing that network graph of your metadata. All of that classification we do is an ML-based framework. And then there's a recommendation engine that sits underneath the prep module. So lots of areas where we're trying to provide automation as users are using the product. Workflow and automation, you can put these processes into production. So let's say you're moving data from a SQL Server environment and joining it up with some data in a file system, and you want to load it into Snowflake and then operationalize that to run every 15 minutes. We know how to do all the change data capture from your source systems and kind of set it and forget it, if you will, from a scheduling standpoint. So lots of automation capabilities. And then cloud optimized. We like the cloud. One thing that's a little bit unique about these catalog and prep services is we actually can sit behind your firewall entirely. So if it was like something you wanted to deploy in your data center, we do actually support that. You can literally run all of the microservices essentially all inside your data center. We also support hybrid and cloud. We definitely like the cloud because we can scale really well when we're processing large data volumes. So definitely prefer the cloud, but can kind of be deployed in any which way. So that's just kind of a high level of what those services do, how they work, and maybe some of the things that they could do essentially to support some use cases inside your environment. How they're a little bit unique, and really what I want to touch on just for the next couple minutes is what I see as a real unique opportunity for Boomi ahead, and really the unique opportunity, I think, for customers like yourselves of some of the amazing value creation that Boomi's situated to essentially bring to the enterprise and bring to organizations and customers like yourselves, is if you really look at kind of the data management landscape, there are a number of vendors that play in all of these spaces, like the cataloging space, like ETL, like iPaaS, like, enabling, data discovery and providing automation from a machine learning standpoint. But, a lot of these legacy organizations have these products, but they're all bespoke and not integrated. So you might deploy a data catalog service from one vendor, but it doesn't actually talk to their iPaaS or talk to their prep or ETL solution suite. Or you might deploy one of their governance solutions that provides capability essentially around governing your data, but doesn't actually talk to any of the other products. So there's a lot of vendors out there that play in this market, but really no one has come to market with that integrated experience yet of really leveraging all of these services and having them talk to each other to provide you a holistic experience essentially as you manage data from A to Z across all these data management use cases, including application integration, which obviously we heard about today. So really unique opportunity ahead for Boomi. And if you think about it, Boomi is really now the one vendor on the market across these integrated service suite that can leverage and really deliver the customer experience around providing discovery of source system data, all the way to ultimately decisioning around your data. Whether that outcome is a use case around application integration, whether that outcome is some AI model that you're gonna deploy to predict, let's say, your customers or students' behaviors, or literally just building a visualization, let's say, to test hypotheses around your business and around your organization, leveraging data. Boomi now really is the only vendor in the market that supports those use cases end to end, from discovery to then readiness of your data, whether it's preparing, building those master domain entities in MDH, doing some data cleansing work, let's say if you've got data quality errors inside of your source systems, then building all those real-time and batch pipelines from an integration standpoint. And it really provides trust within inside your organization, right? Your business constituents know they can trust this data, and they can trust this data around driving decisions on behalf of your business, because we're supporting that full data pipeline across this integrated suite of services. So, having been here now for 6 or 7 months and being part of the Boomi product team, this is really what excites me. I know this market really well, and Boomi is really positioned in a unique way to really bring significant value to its customers and new prospects, essentially. So maybe just the last thing I'll touch on, here are some of the use cases that the data catalog and prep services work on across our customer base. So if you're doing things like application or data consolidation, we work with a lot of companies that have grown through M&A, let's say, and maybe they've got a bunch of ERP systems that they run because they've acquired a number of companies. We can really provide a lot of agility around doing application or data consolidation across disparate application ecosystems. Data migration, maybe you've got some legacy data warehouse and you want to modernize and move it to the cloud. We play a great role there. We're really efficient and provide a lot of automation of moving existing data investments to kind of the new era platforms. Risk and compliance, that discovery service, right? You're going to connect us to your source systems. We're going to tell you where we think you've got risk around sensitive data exposure, because we're going to go locate it automatically inside of your systems. Domain 360, again, if you think about these capabilities coming together with Master Data Hub that Boomi offers, we can really provide great capability around you mastering your domain entities, whether they be students or customers or stores or locations or products. Lots of capability there. Self-service analytics, I think you heard me touch on that a little bit, right? There's no shortage of people who are leveraging tools like Tableau today, or Power BI, or Click, or even those Excel users essentially within inside your organization that are trying to take data across a suite of source systems and really bring it together to do some decision making. We play a great role there. And then data science, right? Maybe you're running some predictive models, or you have aspirations of moving into the world of predictive or advanced analytics. We also provide a lot of capability in that arena as well. So I hope this was helpful. Just wanted to do a real high level exposure to some of the folks here on the phone around these new services that are part of the Boomi platform from a catalog and prep standpoint. Hopefully you folks got something out of this, and hopefully maybe you see some use cases where now that you know about these services and have awareness of them, where maybe we can help you even further beyond some of the use cases that we even heard today. So Andrew, I don't know if you'd want to maybe pop that survey back up and just see maybe where the results landed.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. And I know there's some questions from the audience, so I'll let them ask away, and I will share my screen. So James, I know you had a question. Do you want to unmute yourself and fire away?
Yeah, what I was going to ask Sean, and I sent him a message just now. What you've done is exactly what we were trying to do, to go out to OFC, because if you've worked with OFC, you know that they love to suck in your data, but trying to get it back out is a whole different issue. So we have people who've written his entire NiFi or are working on writing entire NiFi processes that go out and try to pull data down from OFC, but they're always changing their structure. So you always get new data formats and so forth. So they're trying to go out there and read the data structure, and OFC just stopped that. So it kind of put a blocker on it with a new, I think it's 20C that they stopped doing that and allowing you to read your data structure, at least for us. So it kind of looks like you're right up our ballpark or right up our alley.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a common problem we see, right? I mean, and it's a common problem across probably all of these products that operate in the data management landscape, right? APIs are constantly changing. Third-party vendors you work with, formats, I'm sure, change unknowingly all the time. And the way you find out about it, right, is some pipeline fails downstream. And that's just kind of how, companies have operated for a long time. But, one of the things that catalog service is really good at is actually alerting you to the fact that, hey, yesterday your Oracle table looked like this, today it looks like this. And I'm gonna alert you to the fact that, hey, something has changed. And one thing that we do that's a little bit unique there as well is, and this is across all sorts of data structures, right? Whether it's files sitting in a file system, API constructs, enterprise applications, relational databases, NoSQL data stores. We literally version your metadata. So the first time that discovery service crawls your source system, that's going to be kind of our baseline of, oh, okay, here's what your metadata and your schemas look like as of today. Any changes that happen from there on, we're actually versioning for you. And you can always go back and look at, hey, what did this Excel file look like, I don't know, 3 weeks ago? And now what does it look like today? Or, hey, what is this third-party partner who's dropping a file into an S3 bucket for us to pick up every night? What did it look like 3 months ago? And now what does it look like today? So we're really good at kind of picking up those changes. And hopefully, unless it's a destructive change, where let's say, I don't know, your vendor drops a column out of the middle of a file, which, happens too, we'll actually manage that pretty seamlessly and pretty, in a pretty much an automated fashion for you, where literally all of a sudden those new columns just appear in your data sets and everything's still operationalizing as it has been in the past. So we do quite a bit around kind of schema management and schema detection.
That's awesome. I appreciate it.
Sure, no problem.
Would love to know more about it.
Yeah, no, happy to connect and chat.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. Got it. So yeah, I see Andrew's kind of popped those results up. Not surprisingly to me, Snowflake is kind of the one that is. Snowflake's got a ton of momentum. If folks have awareness of that relational database that is cross cloud. Looks like other kind of is tied with it, but then BigQuery and Azure seem to be the next stacks. But all these platforms we work really proficiently with. We do have a partnership with Snowflake, so across a number of products at Boomi, including these catalog and prep services, we are actually certified to run on their platform. So would be happy to talk to any of the folks looking at Snowflake or looking to deploy Snowflake or have already deployed Snowflake. We provide a lot of capability around their platform from both a data discovery and real time and kind of batch ingestion into their platform. So, happy to chat with any customers around that as well. So these results aren't surprising to me. Cool. So I think that's all I had from my perspective, Andrew. So if there's any other questions, happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'll kick it back to you, Andrew.
Awesome. Sean, thank you. Thank you again, as always.
Sure.
Great job. Appreciate everyone's participation. A lot of great stuff shared today. 2 great customer stories. Sean's story. It's great to have Chris Port on as well. It's great to get all your input during the brain toss. usually like to use the last couple of minutes for just general open feedback. I mentioned before, feedback is a gift. So we'd love to get your input on your experience here today. What did you like? What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? What about the general format? The floor is yours. The mic is yours. I also popped open that second closing poll. I will not be sharing the results. We will share the results in a wrap-up article that we'll be publishing on the community within the next, I'd say, 3 business days, so sometime early next week. So we'll share some of those results, but in general, we'll use the poll information to continue to improve this experience. We're going to try and continue to be as creative as we can in the virtual environment. I was just having a side conversation with Drew Crocker about just getting back on the road. I know we're all itching to be back in person. Yeah, so what questions, what comments do you have? And if you want to get a little bit deeper with DCP, please reach out to Sean directly. You can reach out to him through the community, or if you want, I can facilitate that conversation. Just ping me and I'll get you all in touch. But with that, I'll leave you to the poll, and I'll leave you to providing any feedback you might have about this event. So I'll stop talking and give you all a chance to do that. Anybody on my team even? What did you like about this one as compared to some of the others? What could we be doing better? I guess no feedback's good feedback, right? How about some of my regulars? Greg Kane, you still on?
I'm still on.
There you are. There you are. How could I miss the ribs? You've now been to. You've spoken at some of our live events. You've been to several of our virtual events. How are you thinking these are coming along? What would you like to see incorporated that we're not doing so far?
It's good. I mean, I like it. I like the presentations. I like that they're varied. The networking part's a little hard virtually, I guess. So on the survey that just came out, I probably rated that one a little lower than like the value of the presentation. It's not as easy when you can't break into groups at lunch or during break or whatever and talk to somebody that you can kind of chat somebody, I guess, that spoke that you were interested in what they were saying, but it's just not quite the same,
I get it. I think there is a feature in Zoom. It's a breakout feature, which I just learned about. So maybe for future calls we can look at to group folks together and figure out different topics. We can maybe incorporate some questions or information into the registration, so we have a way to organize and group people together. Maybe we can have 5 different breakouts and see who volunteers for which breakouts, and then we can kind of set them up to go into those rooms for 15 minutes or 10 minutes or so during that brain toss. That might be a good way we can break it up even more. I
just know, like in the live event, when you break for lunch, you can sit down with somebody that you heard talk, or whatever, another group, or a happy hour. I got to speak with people at the happy hour that I didn't get a chance to talk to at the meeting.
Yeah.
So that, a little more networking, but no, yeah, I liked all 3 presentations very well.
Great. Awesome. Thanks. That's great feedback. And I agree. I think we're like I said, I was talking to Matt, I was talking to Ryan, I was talking to Drew all about and Krilla about getting back on the road and getting back to in person. I can't replace that, but I think the breakout sessions might be able to help with the networking. So we'll look into that for future events. So Shannon, looks like you have somebody joining you there that may have some feedback for us as well. Anybody else? Anybody on my team? Drew, Ryan, Matt, Max. You guys are on almost everyone.
Yeah.
Brandon.
The one thing I'll mention, Andrew, is I know a lot of the customers talked about it, but we do have free training certification, training.boomi.com. If you want to go to it, I'll drop it in the chat here in a second. There we go. And So we have free training certification on all of our services, including DCP, which Sean covered. We have a couple of training courses on that, an intro to data catalog and prep, and data catalog and prep for administrators of the system. So it'd be no harm in checking those free trainings out and getting those wrapped under your belt and getting another certification here.
Yep, good point, Matt. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, that's good to know. This is Brandon. I'm Greg's manager, and this was really good. I really enjoyed it. I didn't pay attention to the whole thing. I was working on the side, and so I didn't fill out the survey because I didn't feel it would be fair, because I would have had to make something up for some of them. So, but I paid attention to probably a little over half of it, and I really liked it.
Great. Thanks for that feedback. Yeah, it's hard to multitask at the live events. I'll try and call people out, keep them focused. But no, that's great feedback. Greg's been fantastic. He's spoken at a number of our events. Joined us at Boomi World last year. We had a live user group at Boomi World, which we were hoping to do again this year. But he's been on all of the virtual events as well. So it's great to get your support and Greg's support. So thank you all.
Yeah, thanks. It's great to work with him every day.
Well, Andrew, thank you to you. You did a great job moderating this and put it together. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for presenting. Look forward to working with you for the higher ed user group. I think September 22nd is the date we're targeting. Caitlin, keep me honest on that. I think that's what we decided with the team. But it's not a live event yet, so there's no registration, but we're working on the agenda. So we look forward to having you join us at that session. We did do a higher ed user group at Boomi World last year. We had about, I want to say 60 plus, 70 plus people in the room. So it's great to see that people get together. It's hard because higher ed kind of spread out throughout the country. It's hard to get everyone together in the same space. But we were able to do it at Boomi World, and we'll do a virtual one in September. And then hopefully we'll have our second live higher ed summit, as well as other industries. I was talking to Brittany and Colleen this morning from our customer marketing team about doing the same thing for some other industries. So we'll keep you all posted on that as it develops. Anybody else? Any last comments before we all break?
I have a quick question.
Sure, go for it.
Data catalog and preparation. Would you consider that ETL tool, or it sounded like geared towards a BI area rather than EDI? I'm not sure how it resides within your product slew.
Yeah, it is under the covers, essentially doing ETL-like operations. So it's kind of a batch data movement,
Okay.
ETL technology. It's a user experience though that's quite a bit different than probably the ETL tools maybe you've seen.
Traditional tools, right?
Yeah.
It's not as. Okay.
Yeah, it's got a couple of frameworks, and really what we're trying to do is simplify something that's kind of complex from a data engineering standpoint, and give users suggestions as they're going through kind of the relevant steps of building an ETL pipeline of, hey, you just selected this database table. We think you're going to join these 5 other data sets to it. Or, hey, you've got these attributes that are part of this pipeline you're building. Therefore, we think you're going to apply these transformations or apply these data cleansing rules because we understand these fields that are inside of the data sets that, let's say, you've selected for your ETL product. But it's just as powerful as any ETL tool, right? You can move tons of data. It extracts parallel, it loads in parallel. We do have some connectivity to visualization suites. So we can like pump data directly into Tableau's API as an example.
To data models.
Yeah, you got it. Yep. So there is some integration there. We don't do the visualization. We just partner with those visualizations.
Push the data to it. Okay.
You got it. So,
thank you.
hope that helps.
Yes, thank you.
Sure.
All right. Well, again, really appreciate everyone joining us today. And for all the valuable feedback you've given us, for all the participation. We certainly look forward to the next one. So I'll connect with the team and we'll figure out some dates. We do have a bunch of upcoming events. If you care to join some out-of-market events, you're welcome to join in on those. Caitlin, if you want to post the link in the chat before folks drop off, that'd be great. It's on the community. It's pretty easy to find. It's under the community.boomi.com. There's an event section where you just go to the events, use the event type filter, select user group meeting, and you'll see those events lined up as they come on board and online. We will provide the links in there to sign up. So with that, everyone, stay safe, stay well, stay healthy, stay happy. Again, thank you for joining us, and thanks again to my speakers. We'll see you guys next time. Cheers, everyone.
Thanks, Andrew. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.